As you think about your time, where we are coming out of this pandemic, the debt that we've had to take on in the industry to weather the storm, how is this financial pandemic setting you up relatively to when you started back in '04?
Oh gosh, it's so much worse. I mean, this is the worst calamity for the airline industry since its existence, basically. And 2004 was a tough time period. You had rising energy prices. It was the aftermath of 9/11, but nothing compared, to last year. When I look back at April of 2020, our business was down 98%. So we've never seen anything like that. We've seen a nice rebound here this spring, and beginning with spring break. Of course, that's a combination of rolling out the vaccinations, seeing the case counts come down, and there's a lot of pent-up, travel demand that exists, thankfully. So now we're at the point where we're trying to get flights back in the air, get everything adequately staffed. So it's been a real wild pendulum swing the other way. I'll take it, So I think we'll make money here in June, and so that's a very nice turnabout from a year ago.
How did this wrestle with the pandemic dictate the timing of your retirement? As CEO, Gary, I know very much you're going to still be there in terms of chairman, but did you feel that we've now got to a stage where you can hand it over and the pendulum has swung to the other direction, that now we're seeing so much demand, supply can't keep up?
That's it precisely. And, I'll be 67 next year. It'll be my 18th year as CEO. That's a good long run. We've accomplished a lot. But our next generation of leaders, they're ready. They're ready to take on the CEO responsibilities. We selected Bob Jordan, who's a 33-year veteran and very, very well prepared for the job. Our board is fully aligned with our succession plan. And, I'm healthy and I feel like I'm young and I have years worth of work, I feel like, on the board. And I'll still have a few duties for the company going forward. But I wouldn't want to make a change if the company was really unstable. But we've stabilized. We'll continue to stabilize for the rest of this year. We'll have a good wind at our back, so to speak, going into 2022. And this will give our leadership team the planning season this year to put a great plan into place for 2022, knowing that we'll have a new CEO. So I think the stars are aligned and the time is perfect.
Those 2022 plans, we're coming off of a weekend when American had to cancel a lot of flights because they're having a hard time bringing their labor force back to work. We're hearing Delta say that they're rapidly trying to hire 1,000 pilots to meet demand. Where are you positioned amongst those competitors to meet demand, particularly with your labor force as well?
Well, it's a large company at this point. I think when I started 35 years ago, we maybe had 5,000 employees. And at the peak, coming into the pandemic, we had 60,000. So we're about 55,000, 56,000 employees right now. So it's a big company. If we want to grow from here, obviously we'll be hiring thousands of people. So all I can tell you is that we'll get started and try to do our hiring, but we'll have to be conservative with our schedule to make sure that we don't overcommit next year. So we'll just have to strike the right balance here. So we'll be bringing in more new airplanes from Boeing. If we can't get the staffing to increase our flight activity, we'll simply retire older aircraft. So we'll be able to manage our fleet flexibly enough, but I think it'll be a little tricky to get the staffing perfect. Right now, our staffing is a little tight, but we're in good shape. Gary, but I think the point is, if we want to grow from here, I think it remains to be seen how successful we'll be hiring. But we're a good company. We've never had a furlough. We've never had a pay cut. We've never had a layoff in our history. So it's a place that people want to come and be a part of. And I think that will certainly help us when we're out there competing for hiring.
Gary, I want to go to a relatively sensitive subject here because you talk about the 3 top-notch leaders that you have, and you've spoken about how the board's fully on board in terms of the succession planning. Can you give us a steer as to how you've thought about diversity within that succession planning? Because from the outsider looking in, you've got 3 men, white guys, leading at the moment, but did you think about bringing a woman on board? I know that Tammy was potentially in the running to be taking over as CEO. How did you think about that to ensure that you're setting the company up to really speak to the values of your consumers as well?
Well, if you look at our leadership group at large, we have a number of women in our senior leadership positions. We have racial diversity in our senior leadership positions. We can always do better in terms of diversity, and that is absolutely a goal. But when it comes to senior leadership, and especially the CEO, that's one of the prime duties that I have as the current CEO, is I want to make sure that we offer to the board, who makes this selection, we offer to the board an array of candidates internally. So the board didn't consider ever going outside the company, because the candidates that we have who are ready for CEO responsibilities are right here within the company. They know the company, they know the culture, they know the industry. All the statistics will show that the odds of success with a new CEO are far greater if you have an internal hire. So we did not consider bringing in someone new. So any company at a point in time, they have to play with the players that they have. So diversity needs to start long before making that decision here in 2021. But we have long valued diversity. We do have a diverse company. We've got a diverse board. And we absolutely need to get more candidates in the future that are women, are racially diverse. But again, I'm proud of the record that we have. And certainly in Bob Jordan, we have a real all-star who is going to lead the company to even greater heights as we go forward.
So is that bench where you want it to be now in terms of after Bob? You feel internally you've got the right number of people of color, of women, of diversity in all its natures, whether it be on religion and whether it be those with disabilities. Do you think that your bench is full enough as it stands, Gary?
Oh, no, I think we've got opportunities there. And I think what we're going to need to do in the future is to be more intentional. We're going to need to be more intentional in recruiting and onboarding in the right places to make sure that we're getting more diversity. And I would say that's the case for the Fortune 500. But we've got one program in particular as an example that I'm very proud of. And it's where we do go out and we specifically source diverse candidates. We put them through a leadership training program. It's called the Emerging Leader Development Program. And then we place them around the country in various positions. And we're having great success with that. So that's just an example of the kinds of things that we're going to need to do to create that pipeline of candidates that are diverse, whether it's gender diversity or racial diversity.
Mr. Cutley,
so I think we have opportunities to improve that, and we're committed to do that.
we only have about a minute left. As you're thinking about it, successors, future opportunities, what are the priorities going to be in maybe repaying down some of the debt that we've seen, looking at other international expansion opportunities? Where do you see the next key priority?
You know, one of the things that we've done so far is that we've been able to diversify our route map by adding 17 new destinations. So we've been able to do that by taking aircraft away from existing destinations. So we'll want to restore the flight activity in those places as we look forward. We'll definitely want to return to profitability, generate cash flow, pay down debt, and at the same time get the right balance of also preserving capital so that we can acquire more aircraft to either renew our fleet and retire older airplanes or grow the fleet and add more flight activity. So we'll add some international destinations as time goes by, but for the most part, we'd like to invest more in the existing network, add more flights, add more depth. All of that's predicated on continuing to see a return of travelers, and especially the business traveler over the next several years.